will now have a panel discussion on the main theme of the workshop, establishing organizational frameworks. I would like to invite the moderator of this panel, Mr. Suresh Chituri, to join us on the dais. About Suresh, sir. He is currently the Senior Director and Head of Technology Standards at Samsung Research Bangalore and serving as the TSDSA Vice Chair since 2022. He has over 20 years of experience in the mobile technology industry and is responsible for research and standardization of emerging wireless and connectivity technologies in global and regional standardization bodies such as 3GPP, ITU, FIRA, IEEE, and TSDSI. Welcome, sir. I would like to now invite the panelists, Mrs. Garima Mishra from TCS, few words about Garima Mishra. She is working as an associate consultant, senior scientist at TCS Research and Innovation Labs, Bangalore. She is working on various projects and networks such as cognitive controller, 5G, 6G communications, and other next-gen wireless network technologies. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Nirant Amog. Next, I would like to call upon Dr. Prem Singh. I would like to call upon Mr. R. Prakash. Dr. Srinath Ramnath from Lekha Wireless. And Mr. Subhash Mondal from HFCL. Handing over to the moderator, sir. Just a small reminder on the time constraints. We'll have 30 minutes for the panel discussion, inclusive of the question and answer session. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ashwin, and hello everyone. So we're almost end of the day, and I think end of the workshop also. We had like a very, I would say, a very successful deliberations yesterday. If you were here yesterday, where we had a lot of sessions around policy level discussions, but today the focus has been mostly on standardization, enabling organizational frameworks. And from the morning, we had various sessions. If you look at the program agenda, we tried to cover. We started with looking at emerging technologies. A session that spoke about some of the areas that we need to consider for beyond 5G standards. And then we had very nice presentations from speakers talking about SDOs within India, like what's happening in DSI, TEC, and also BIS. And then we had a panel on global standards bodies like 3GPP, ITU, IEEE, ORAN, and so on. So here we are, and then we had a lovely presentation from on use cases, Mr. Saundara Kumar from Sientra, right? So I think this is a good stage now to kind of sort of sum up what we discussed today. And given the theme of enabling organizational frameworks, the whole idea of the workshop was, do we have the right frameworks in India? Both at an organizational level within organizations and at a cross organization level in terms of forums within India and what we need to do. I think that's the theme. Are we rightly placed? I think we have come a long way over the last 10 years or so, but as there's a lot more to do going forward. So with that note, I think we have a great panelist here, very diverse, from industry, academia, industry. But I think when I say industry, there's different levels of people from the industry, right? I mean, not people, but different levels of maturity. And yeah, of course, we have Prakash from government slash industry. So it's a pretty diverse, and I don't think you'll find this kind of panel very often. I'm really excited. So with that opening remark, I would like to maybe ask the panelists to maybe briefly reflect on the theme of the workshop. Uh, Maybe briefly. So let's start with okay.
I represent Nokia, so come from a multinational. We're a multinational organization, and of course, organizations like ours participate in almost 500 standards bodies across the world. So, in that sense, the the framework that multinational organizations like Nokia follows are pretty elaborate, and of course, it runs.
So one of the item that I would like to put, TSDSI was formed to help India, what you say, get into standards. We've been doing standards. We've been in C-dot in telecom has been working in the, we use standards day in, day out. But then the comes down to how do you make sure we increase the contributions, and how to make sure lot more play happens in the industry. So the thing comes down to it, not just it's not usually some individuals or some groups are showing interest, but my take is that there is a difference between you using standards and building something, and from there to mature to you starting and contributing to the standards, there is quite a bit of maturity that has to come inside the organizational capability. Okay, one is when you run, it is almost like you're trying to catch a bus and then you're building a bus which runs fast. Okay, they're two separate aspects. And also, when you have to build a standard, you need to be in a space where you contributing to the standard, you in the sense an individual engineer or individual R&D person contribute to standard, makes sense to the company and to the ecosystem there. So that's one of the talk. That's why today, when in the afternoon also when I gave a talk, that I was giving analogy that standardization is like the temple in the village. You can't have only temple. That you can't have an organization full of only standards people. You need a set of, the village needs people who are doing farming. They're doing a lot of other things, and then you need this set of pujaris or whatever. So like that, you need an organization. There needs to be an engineering. There needs a technology development, and then when you say you're trying to push into standards, you're trying to make somebody use that technology in the way you want to prevent you rewriting the. So that requires a level of evolution inside the organization, the awareness, and also the capability to do it. Okay. So all three levels have to be built up. Maybe as a part of the next option, I'll say more.
IIT Bangalore. So here, like, since we are in Bangalore, you can say the faculty members are here. That the work is more to what industries are. How faculty members, to motivate towards the translation. They can come up with as incubate their startup, translational research, which is very important as far as this academia. We as industries, giving real world insight. So we are the in center here, like setup of India for TV foundation is so heavily developing potential 6G technologies, which is MIMO based, and second is RDS technology, which are the 6G technologies. They have facilitating the companies involved in developing these technologies and industries, so can say for we have been contributing to TSDSI also, especially in IP284 we've been doing. So in that way, I would like the organization here is pretty good and allow members to do such kind of things.
To speak on the subject which is key for transformation of technology, and this going to make us strong on the global forum. The product which we are building, right, the standards are them more inclusive at the global forum, and also building more trust on the globally, building more trust. So this is the framework which standards are providing us. The other thing which I have learned of standards since past couple of years is that it's like in collaboration both in government. It has to do anything. Because earlier we were into question papers, showing our capabilities, then getting business. Now we know once we efforts, then we can make our nation stronger, and then that make us even stronger. This is has changed our perspective and the target which we are aiming now. Thank
I think the theme of this is of a India platform. So if I look, we are a food chain of let's say technology uh, product. So if you look at talked about the startup in the business Nokia is concerned, we can say of food chain. If I look uh, academic research, that will we are down the line, 10 years down the line. They are bringing just one idea, and so they are busy making the product. The question is under it is a there is a expression like this step, and I'm how to address that. I think that is what's come handy. If you look into the little bit companies, which probably many Indian just trying to get into it, but we are also in the same dilemma. So I had my first, or do I the idea claiming and boasting that idea technology has gone in on that, right? And that is why I think the ecosystem comes into a being to really have an enough ecosystem that allow you access this coming and building collaboration together with certain amount of status given from the ecosystem so that they can come together and some product probably 5 years down the line, right? And because organizations not have the capital of investing dedicated to what it takes to create a standard contribution. And it's not only about contributing inside the country, but get standard. And that is why organizations are very crucial. It is both the external how do you propose the ecosystem together them to create a good impact. Thank you.
Thank you. To panel here. I'll put in perspective. So I've always worked on something which is actually available as a part of science. GPS, early 90s, expand mode. Then, you know, then LTE, and then 5 these things. So perhaps the challenge was to understand is there in the specification, implement and find where and then get them so on and so forth. So take a simple where I for right now. So the first thing was like trying to establish also as a company or a product line. As we grew, we found that one product being well. Today, so same time also seeing like a need for not only just being a follower to do things, something like become a and we become there later. This was the kind of thing that like we started looking at sanitization seriously. At the same time, like, TSD is also like forming and then contributing. This good where we see that a contribution, collaboration of academia, industry, experience, people, MNCs, everything. So I've actually learned from everybody because I'm in the process of setting up a team which can contribute. Okay, we are doing that. Where I've spoken to a lot of these and got reports and also large organizations. So it's all going well. Like, okay, strategy. Like, I think every day strategy, it's an experiment in the initial 1 to 2 years. Then you identify what's for you. So that's the thing that we have taken, and it's I think it's working to a good extent. Like, okay, it's going day to day. That's what it is.
Or enable further this framework to I mean, ultimately here is there are some overarching goals. If you were here yesterday, saying there will be at least 200 standards, but I think it's 200 contributions. I mean, depends if we read it, but the goals are high. I mean, relevant to where we are at this moment, right? This goal may not be very high if it's someone's country. Uh, to us panelists, understanding where we are right now in different phases of maturity, your engagement in standards. By end of the decade, if we have to reach that goal, what is that magic formula, or what are some things probably focus more, focus less? Like to some views, maybe I go from the left. Uh, Srinath, do you have any views on this?
Hello. Yeah, so basically, the theme that was said yesterday was like the number of patents and standardization contributions. Now, the industry, academic, and the collaborations can work towards achieving that. So, a lot of ideas were discussed, and possibly some of them, uh, like it has to get into an implementation phase. Like a certificate, delegating what happens there, right? And then come back and possibly you need to align what you learn from there with your company's business. Let's say R&D goes to the organization. So that's what I am trying to do, like, okay, because the amount of things in which you can contribute as part of organization is very huge. You need to identify a few verticals where your technology, your experience can map with like, okay, what is available. Secondly, after doing that, like, okay, start on the things and then like, okay, take some initial submission. It always helps that if you begin in the study phase of the release, that's an advantage where there are a lot of topics and can work out. Secondly, in recent engagements, like because of some, CFA programs kind of things, we are able to collaborate with some academics where you have an idea, you try to engage with. in terms of like creating contributions, both in standards and IPs. Okay. In your experience, you try to also get to act with. So these are some of the different engagements that we need to think through it. And then it's like okay, it's long journey at least like 5 years. I think will be getting.
All the 200 number, qualification and quantification is very critical. So what is our aspect? So let's say that we
It
define,
says high.
yeah. So 200 is the number you would like to put as a number for acceptance in the global forum. That would be the, to me, that would be a
Cardinal.
achievable or measurable, tangible output that we can India the country has delivered that contribute globally. Now the next question asked is what does it take? Can we break it down with a set of institutional partners who could probably deliver? And do they have that enablement in place? Now, like Nokia, for example, the MNC tools who are very, very well versed operating in India started coming out of them, it is natural. And if it is aligned, of course, it can generate those many specifications from the country. Of course, TSS member. It will be, I'm presuming, both of the TSS side, right? It will count as country's contribution. But then, if you create a local economy, how do you do this is where enabling organizations, I think, is another thing. So there is a huge research capacity in our country. Now, the researchers of the game probably is a long. One needs to be playing the game for 10 years, 15 years, the same person will need to be. Does the academy have that enablement to do? Probably not. It is a ecosystem of students who comes and goes, right? And this is not where it can be taken. That how to really benchmark my probably something that I would like to. So today, if you look at currently the reason right, that fuels the economy. It's a closed loop ecosystem. Can you create a closed loop ecosystem? The idea comes, say, part with a specific purpose, which is what we have do. Can we do a closed loop? Say that also consumers, consumer, for and gives you lift. If I take learning from 5G, why 5G all heroic, but I am just about the effort. Point it to a step that can get into the list. Implementation still a question mark. So if this ecosystem was done, have the capabilities in the hands, we have early also the question of difficulty would have come in. So can we really do that in the system? Recognize framework, partner, potential customer, and the kind of soft research term, then I'm going to differ. And I think it's going to us getting a useful standard. It's not just having it PDF a Word document. I still remember very impact statement from a President Dan. He said the standard needs to go from PDF to Python. Can we create PDF to Python? Because have a customer who says if the Python is delivered, and that's essentially what it is necessary.
So was enlightened, I should say. It's always been in the past people talked about standards first or implementation, when open source versus standards, and I think I can relate to what you're saying to exactly that analogy. So I'd like to go because it's more. I want to ask, or probably not in a very major organization. Because this is relevant. I want to ask also is we saw from your director in the morning on your journey in TB. Uh, so maybe can you also speak to this about to reach that goal by the end of the decade? You know, what is your perspective and how we can reach get there?
So, from academic perspective, marketing to be, for example, now we will reach 18 GBs automatically advanced, and we have courses like that. We should be focusing on beyond advanced biology, where we are really contribute, and that is really the role of academics is very important. But if academics is always better than and then important industry where we are working inside what challenges to guide that research to in terms of and there's a importance of standard development organizations like in our case DSI, which brings all the stakeholders on the same page to a standard for future technologies ensure interoperability. We don't need standardizations. So the important is if you focus on or we have been trying to contribute in advanced language to that, about finding we should also start focusing on the potential, 6G technology happening now, so that eventually we are able to contribute more to 6G, 5G.
Thank you, Prem. I think uh, you're with the flow, I should say. Um, so, um, so so the next question is a bit specific to let's say standards bodies in India, right? So, PSA is one of them. In terms of, I know, I mean, we have some like leaders of PSA here, we have some people who are part, some are like fresh. Uh, so maybe I'll ask the fresh person, given said that your maybe initial experience, what is it that you think is working, uh, uh, you know, not working so well, or if things can improve? So, because I think unless you have a good organization, uh, uh, you're only as good as the organization that you are contributing. So,
Mentioned industry mostly and as part of research unit, we were mostly focusing on enhancing the capabilities. Now, whatever research we're doing, as I said, initially has changed now. So whatever research we're doing should be an advancement to the standard. Whatever standard we're going to be down the line, we should be ready with the research and work which uh, needed for standard creation. So this is what I think the research and more than R&D, R&I unit takes plays a role. We're ready with some advanced POCs so that whatever we are proposing and whatever we are writing, we should be confirmed about the results. So that only we can aim and target those. I would say acquisition is not a it's a both in terms of investment of time and money. When we talk about time, we have to give not 1 2 months. It's like many years. So we have to make it a success. We have to plan in advance. Uh, Focus should be very clear. Roadmap should be clear. Like in how much time you will be doing what. So that with that only we can target good standard, but not about the quantity, but about the quality. that we can aim business, because business will only give us, and this is what I think we are targeting as a nation.
So in terms of, if I can rephrase what you said, is you're saying the standardization roadmap needs to be very clear, very specific, because our time is limited. So we have to be very focused
Correct.
and precise in terms
And
of.
for
uh,
roadmap to be clear, we need to be very clear about our market, what are the needs, or specific to the market.
Right.
Because right now everything is like dominated by strategies of other nations. How they we have to see what our market.
Okay, fair
need
enough.
is.
I think so. I hope someone is making notes on these. So
So thank you. We handle networks, and I'm chair of the study group networks. I've been there vice chair for 2 years, and then chair for the last. So we've seen a change even within study group networks over the years in terms of there is things that we do in terms of we are evangelizing, we conduct workshops, we are training people, we are mentoring people through what is, we used to see that people would come in and they would not, actually trying to develop a standard is like getting into a boxing match with a lot of people. Okay, it's more like a street fight. Just it's done more politely, but sometimes not so politely. But then you need the company or the person and the need to come in and need to survive the wrestling match with the crowd. And we found that some of them would get discouraged. So we created an alternate stream called, a roadmap committee, which would sort of maybe help them get more friends into the fight and make their proposal, build up the proposal a little bit better, and come into the this to increase their success rate in the aspects. But we have also seen, when there was the 5G standardization aspect was going, there's a set of stream of people who would come and they were very keen on contributing and so on. And then when that 5G standards completed, IMD 2020 was standardized and so on. So that sort of crowd have gone off and another set of crowd is coming. Okay. And with these have new interests or whatever. So when we are watching, what is the trend in the industry? Okay. So I think we also have to start analyzing organization. We are also seeing, since the standardization community is small, the R&D community is small in India compared to the Western world. The inside that the standardization community is small, and they are probably also looking at their own careers and they start moving to the next stage. So we probably have to start catching more next gen startup. Startup is one of them, but even if you want to, even within academia, probably we have to start latching on to more research, professors. If they're already doing professors, we need to assistant professor or the new this one, so that they start coming in with their work already. Okay. And since you can't straight away whatever you're doing straight away cannot be standardized. As TSGSI and also me as I also am there in some government funded projects review committee. I've been nudging a lot of them to come to standards. In fact, we started putting saying if your R&D write down a row saying what is your contribution to standards and what will you do, and we in fact tell them to go to attend a few bodies. We allocate funds for them and make it mandatory for them to go to the standards and so on. But then there is stuff that can be done outside and there's stuff that can be done inside. And given that standardization, TSGS is a members body, and and what comes in as a body of work is somebody has to come in with a proposal or somebody has to come into the walking around saying, look, I have a proposal. That essentially means that we need to lot more evangelization, catch new areas, for example, 5G was supposed to have verticals, and we try to give talks on 5G for agriculture. I mean, the pot in my house doesn't survive, but I'm trying to do 5G for agriculture and so on, right? So, these are the evangelization and reaching to the various community. For example, we want to go to urban ministry or the urban. We have to find out what are the stakeholders, who are the people who have interest in standards, and how does it map to this. So these are some aspects that we probably have to catch out, or we want to do smart cities. Who are the people who make the RFPs and right? Who has the problem and who is got the solution? Which are the startups? Which are the established companies? So maybe we need to build up some maps and start targeting and drag them to the various workshops. Or we go and give
Right.
workshops rather than they probably won't come here. We probably have to take the program into that where they go. So maybe we have to go to real estate exhibitions and set up some talks on standards for smart city programs for the apartments or whatever, right? So maybe the outreach has to go to places than what we have already been going, because I start seeing one other thing and seeing that we are seeing the same faces again and again. Okay. So unless you go to problem space and you start meeting new people, I don't think there is a need for new standards. We already have enough standards. Okay. So maybe we need to catch more problems, which requires a standardization as a solution. Some of my.
Thank you.
So I represent the Services and Solutions Group, so I'm the vice chair there, and I've been in with TSDSI since its inception. Um, so I mean, situation of TSDSI is a little special. So TSDSI is one young standards body and the fast-growing standards body, right? And of course, it walked or it ran the journey of being a world-class standards body almost very quickly, right? And and with this situation, which was also, let's say, maybe a goal-driven stuff, let's say a KPI-driven stuff. So when it reached there, of course, all the members who could catch up, but then some probably lost way in the purpose. And especially it was becoming more challenging when you start looking at the group like services, because India was known for services, and we were thinking we were overwhelmed with contributions in services. And when we started looking into the group, this was the most, let's say, I mean, let's say, attention to the group is little low, right? And networks. Networks was everybody wants to do. They come with 4G, 5G, 6G. Everybody are turning towards network, and then the attention is less towards the services. So when and we were always saying India is service first nation. We are doing a lot of services. There is a lot of services stack, but proposals from so this is where I'm coming from, saying that the organizational framework that one has and the purpose of TSD, right? So there is a mismatch, right? And as Prakash was also pointing out, there needs to be some sort of an education in terms of how standards enables their business, why standardization is more important for their business, give it services, it networks, right? So Subhash pointed out, we are largely R&D driven by academia, and then I think we are seeing a lot of proposals from academia, and but the industry, when they participate, I think they should be able to relate it with their business in terms of how it goes. So in that whole picture of TSDSI, right? I think one is the education side in terms of why standards is important, and also we've been able to compare ourselves with Etsy, right? And we want to, I think we saw yesterday that we want to do something more and more locally than in Etsy. So there are a lot of local problems. So we have not been use case driven sometimes. So I think we should focus more on use cases, requirements, identify market demands, right? So such kind of work should happen more in TSDSI. And I think we directly run to a technology because we've been given a goal that this is what we have to achieve in terms of KPI. So whenever we try to look at KPI and then we look at value, then when you try to achieve the KPI, you lose the value. Okay? So you have to go in the, as Subhash put, there should be a closed loop system. You start with the market demand, the use cases, identify your problem statements, then you will be able to identify the real KPIs that can meet your goal. So I think some of the things to ponder on TSDSI is how do we start maturing ourselves in early phases of absorbing pre-standards work, and then maturing and graduating them towards global standards. So right now we are all targeted to, we have been given a direction that go target global standards. Everybody are behind that, but they're losing the bigger picture of how to proceed towards that and more maturely proceed towards that.
There maybe we can do some changes where, faculty is having some IPRs can be given weightage. Probably more weightage faculty is having some standard essential IPRs. That is some changes we can do on the academic side. Now, other than that, what Garma said, like we need to have, we need to establish really a very clear objective for the collaboration between industry and academia. On top of that, I would like to add one more thing. After establishing that, we need to evaluate and iterate also. Evaluate in the sense we need regularly see in what direction collaboration is going, and at the same time, what are the areas where we need to improve. More suggestions like that the telecom product they require expertise from many domains. For example, from electronics domain, from communication domain, from economics domain, and from TS domain. So there may be have event to promote the interdisciplinary uh, the collaborations where people from different domains come together and they can solve the complex problem of telecom. Then other thing from industry academia perspective, two more thing I would like to add. Like we know that academia has been doing cutting edge research, and many of those research is having commercialization potential. So can we have some body set up for the, let's say, technology transfer from academic to industry? And and when we are doing this technology transfer, maybe the researchers involved in this, can we provide some incentive to them so that people from academia they are more motivated towards doing the translational research. And finally, one thing I would like to add is standardization. It's a continuous effort. If let's say I want to contribute to standardization, I need to regularly attend all the meetings happening in TSI or at the global forum like 3GPP. If I'm going for one meeting, skipping 2, 3 meetings, then that is not going to work. But only academic, like as a faculty member, the projects we have very limited, travel funds, which maybe you can attend few meetings within India, TSDSI meeting, but definitely you can't attend meeting, outside India. Uh, Although there have been some effort from the government side, so I would say this is again for the policy makers. We need to have dedicated funds, especially for academia, maybe for industry, for big industry, they already have the dedicated fund for this. For academic, can we have some dedicated fund where people can, regularly attend these workshops? And when they attend these workshops, they are going to interact with industry more. And I believe that then this interaction or collaboration between industry and academics that can achieve to a new height. That's it. Thank you.
We all know the life cycle of how things graduate from research to commercialization. There is pure academic research, then there is assessment of this research, which you call translation research, which they become candidate for commercialization, which may directly go to the implementation, or while also require some kind of standardization. There's a standardization phase, and then there is the implementation phase of the standard. Now, I think in terms of the vision, everybody's trying to backtrack, but you look into the first point, so everybody's reflects into what are the problems to solve, right? And who will give those directions, right? I think it's kind of a chicken and problem. Academia says, can industry help us with it? And industry is looking into academia should already be forefront of the research, right? So one of the things that could happen is if you see some of the global bodies, there is this tech radar type of initiatives. It's ETSI has some kind of a tech radar initiative, which is similar to what we do as roadmap activity, but more little more higher than the roadmap in terms of scanning the technology area and giving guidance to the first step, saying that okay, this is where you should focus on research. Let's say coming 5 years down the lane or 10 years down the lane, and this input should come from already established organizational framework like TSDS, right? So there are these organizational frameworks. So there is TEC, there is of course BIS, there is TSDSI. And given telecommunication as background, there should be some way of guiding the first step. So once the first step happens, so academics can do an independent research on the tech radar that is identified by, let's say, as you said, closed loop. Subhash mentioned about closed loop. So this closed loop side is actually identifying something that is very important in terms of what could generate future business or what is important for business. So step one comes in there. And once this academic research is taking shape, when you do the translation, so the translation, it's actually a very important problem to solve. So right now the translations are probably happening by academia directly trying to do the translation, right? Probably is not going through an assessment via the industries to what of these really move, because there would be say 5 problems given, there will be 100 solutions, but then it has to go through the translation phase. I think there should be some kind of initiative within the government which allows the public-private model like TSD. Say what we do for standards development should also be for enabling newer standards in terms of PPP model. So you participate, allow industry, academia, create an environment where industry and academia can participate in a way to assess the outcome of all these fundamental research, enable them to translate and give a path towards implementation or via standardization. And that would start creating more conducive environments and purpose. When you start taking inputs, which will become more and more valuable, so you would now also start relating it to use case. You would be able to now say, okay, these are the type of work items that would really have value going forward, and it will definitely make it to the commercial set. So I think 2 or 3, let's say, quick action points could be: it's an organizational framework. Organizations like TSDSI should focus and give input to the first stage. And maybe there are organizations now today like Bharat 6G Alliance, which is actually looking at future direction. But then TSDSI should also be able to provide an input to such organizations in terms of tech directions. And then whatever comes out of research, there could be a way to work in a PPP model, translate the give directions and feasibility, where government also looks into it and know to standards more profitably from commercialization, and also the vision that the region looks at, like India.
Thank you. The BCGA, efforts as TSGSA needs to do, plus the industry academia. So we kind of bring all this together. So thank you for that.
Look at the current standardization scenario. In India, there are 3 things. So one is the ones which are coming from the MNC, others which are coming from top tier academic institutes. Third is like, okay, some small amount of from like, okay, the indigenous companies. So all these 3 solutions are very different actually. Okay, so that is why this forming collaboration helps, but at the same time, what would happen is like, okay, so the experienced people can help us. For example, if you look at it like, we need to bring in somehow the tier 2 academic institutes to the picture. And then if I look at academics, it's so every professor may not be interested in doing standardization. Okay, how do you bridge the gap? So during, in fact, if you create a small portion of the faculty that you hire who are interested in that kind of a job. Second, if that is not possible, you can do something like a professor, a person who is in an MSc or industry who has been experienced in standardization. Can they work, okay, with academic institute? Basically identifying common areas and then taking the ideas forward. That is one possibility. Okay. So set of ideas like, okay, the idea here is like you need to bring the tier 2 academic institute and the indigenous companies to contribute more. Okay. So the ideas that like, okay, that whatever I was kind of thinking of might help, like when you recruit or when you involve experienced people as professor of practice or like, okay, that kind of things. And also when you form an academic collaboration, make sure that like, okay, one of the academic people participate. Of course, the funds is an issue. Again, the academic institute and the industry can put in a joint fund, okay, which can fund these structures together. To learn together and then spread things around. Okay, DOT can help, but like actually we can't always ask DOT to fund everything. So at least 50% something can come from government. Rest at least 25% should come from the academic partner, and because everybody has a stake in it, right? That's the way.
And also, I think
Said, I think standardization, I would say, is a marathon, not a sprint. Okay, so in this marathon, can different parties play different legs of the run, right? That essentially. So I'll just share from my experience of engagement with academia, because in my previous job I have been very intimately involved into a different kind of academic collaboration. So there are, in my personal opinion, there are two type of research engagement with academia that industry tech. One is a very, very clearly defined tactical area where the organization is falling short of the skill and there is a need for academia to augment skill in terms of it's like an outsourced research to build a product clearly identified as a of the gap. Okay, so that's fairly easy. Organization lifts it, uses it completely. The second thing is kind of a not completely blue. I would say that a mix of little hazy visibility, right? And that's where I think purpose-driven research become very important, right? So let's say that India has an aspirational goal of creating, say, 6G waveform. Ran on or group, I want to do a waveform. Or I would like to do a L2, L3 protocol related contribution. Or I would like to do the RAN orchestration layer. Or I would like to do the performance KPI. I'm just picking up some area, RAN 1, RAN 2, RAN 3, RAN 4. So if I have a goal that let's say that as per the CZ vision document, there is an integrated sensing and communication and waveform. Now, in order to do that, this is the set of frequency bands I would like to do that. And we map saying that this is the academic institute or the exist. And these are the set of OEMs who are wanting to build a capability and product in this space. Can we really build a aspirational goal that if I have to contribute in standard in next 2 years, I have a prototype. The leg on the run would be done, let's say that terahertz communication. The industry today, unless it is okay, Samsung who has shown in may not have the terahertz transceiver design, whereas the academia may. Right? That context, can we really say that first of the run is done by the academy? Second leg of the run would be done by the industry. That is where the impetus comes from the government in terms of creating the first prototype. Once that first prototype is visible, and then the industry is integral part of that research activity, then what happens is second leg, it is easier for the industry to tell the management, hey, listen, there exists a prototype. We have been part of this prototype with this academia. Now we would like the organization to invest into the second leg of that, right? And we come up with a roadmap to say that it needs a physical product now. And that leg we also say we take technology forward in the standards. By virtue of this exercise, you already create certain aspects. You of the paper published in a certain patent approval legal becomes would say asset base, that is which the organization has confidence. Now, certain organizations, like for example, the need kind of they have enough definition. But if the local ecosystem grow, this can act as an influence.
Like industry academy collaboration. In fact, we have TSDSI a little bit. My thing is it got skewed. That is, we have a lot of academia coming and trying to do standards, and we felt why are they dropping out? But usually, if you see what is there in academia, right? They have MTech guys, they have PhD guys, and BTech. BTech guys don't do much research. MTech guys are there for 18 months. PhDs are very small in number, and we are expecting them to play a long haul game, which even inside companies people get tired. Nobody accidentally goes into a standardization meeting. If they go, they won't never will go second meeting. So put it as a mandatory KRA key result area for the person, and you have to build it. So maybe please go look at TSDSI, 3GPP, and so on. These are the industry problems, and that is where the businesses are fighting. So that is the key area you should do research. So that was we pulled them from IEEE to 3GPP. Okay, go publish there, but please look at these areas. Okay, so that is something we have been successful from government perspective where the project are funded. We have the KRA and so on. But the point I think what Subhash Mandal was saying is that academia, somebody takes up, you use their strength, but don't expect them to become something else. If Aishwarya Rai has muscles like Salman Khan, has the look of this, and then actually it's Salman Khan, it's not Aishwarya Rai. So maybe, I mean, what is their strength? You use their strength, then somebody else takes up from there and continues the battle. The farmer does the farming, somebody does the converting into coffee powder, and somebody else does the retail sales marketing, right? So like that, we probably also have to do certain amount in the industry and see what is the sort of people who need to. Of course, everybody needs to go and see the other side. The sales guy has to see what is the promise of the vice. But
So thank you very much. I think I think we covered a lot of ground. Panels never done in 30 minutes. I think we could go on probably another hour easily. This is a topic of high interest. You can tell by the kind of conversations we had, and I hope we have more opportunities. There's a lot that we covered in terms of. Just if I have to summarize, just throw some things that I've written on the book. Engaging early, consistent participation, benchmark against maybe Etsy or some successful organizations. Involve stakeholders, enable partnerships, having a clear roadmap, being use case driven, more outreach, going after markets because we need to know what requires. Or
Activity was uh, requirement, and in 5G there was a massive requirement, and we have to look at why it did not happen. Why, right? We have to look like that, and what I see why it did not happen. Do you think that in such forums, IoT companies like DGPP, and when DGPP people are there are hardly any IoT people. These two groups don't understand each other. So maybe in such forum, try to get both kind of people where we will understand what is the problem of the IoT world, and operators are looking to it. Then this MIMO has failed. The technology has provided massive mining. You know what the user coming, or there are very few users, but there are lot of non-NR users. Probably 50% are non-NR users. How to get them connected?